The plane was flying high above the clouds, cruising smoothly on its way to the next city. Inside the cabin, most passengers were quietly enjoying the flight, some reading, others chatting softly. Among them was a young black girl, sitting by the window seat looking out at the endless sky with wide eyes. She was traveling with her family, but her mind was elsewhere, curious, thoughtful, and full of hope. Suddenly, the calm atmosphere shifted. The billionaire's wife, who was visibly pregnant and sitting a few rows ahead, suddenly gasped and clutched her belly. Her face twisted in pain, and panic quickly spread through the cabin. People stood up, looking around, unsure what to do. Flight attendants rushed to her side, calling for calm, but the wife's breathing became shallow and uneven. The air grew tense, heavy with worry. The flight crew began checking their emergency protocols, preparing to make an unscheduled landing. The wife's husband, a tall man in a sharp suit known for his wealth and business power, moved closer to his wife, holding her hand tightly, fear and helplessness in his eyes. Amid the confusion, the young black girl watched carefully. She had always been taught to stay calm in emergencies and help when she could. Despite her age, she had taken basic first aid classes at school and remembered what to do in a crisis. The girl stood up quietly and approached the flight attendant. "Can I help?" she asked softly but firmly. The attendants looked surprised, unsure at first if a young passenger could really assist. But the seriousness of the situation left no time for doubt. They nodded, grateful for any help. The girl knelt beside the pregnant woman, speaking in a calm voice. "Try to breathe slowly and deeply. I'm here with you." The woman's eyes fluttered open and she managed a weak smile. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. The girl took a deep breath herself, trying to steady her nerves. She checked the woman's pulse gently and made sure her airway was clear. She remembered to keep her cool and speak reassuringly. Around them, the other passengers watched in silence. Some exchanged surprised glances, amazed by the courage of this young girl. The billionaire, standing nearby, looked at her with a mix of gratitude and disbelief. Minutes passed that felt like hours. The girl stayed by the wife's side, doing everything she could to keep her calm and comfortable. The flight crew communicated with the nearest airport, arranging an emergency landing. Finally, the pilot's voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we will be making an emergency landing due to a medical situation on board. Please remain calm and seated." The tension in the cabin eased slightly. The wife's breathing became more stable thanks to the girl's steady presence. The husband watched with tears forming in his eyes, grateful beyond words. When the plane touched down safely, medical teams rushed on board. The girl stepped back, allowing professionals to take over. The wife was carefully carried off the plane, supported by her husband. The billionaire turned to the young girl, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you," he said simply. The girl smiled shyly, feeling a warmth in her heart. "I just did what I could." But at that moment, no one knew the full story behind this act of bravery. The girl, from a humble background, had saved the life of one of the richest families in the world. Her courage and kindness would soon become known far beyond the walls of the airplane. And as the billionaire's tears fell, he would listen closely to one simple appeal his wife made, a wish that would change everything. The room was filled with excitement and chatter as the charity event went on. People were dressed in their best clothes, sharing stories, laughing, and enjoying the evening. But suddenly the mood shifted. The billionaire's pregnant wife, who had been standing near the stage, suddenly clutched her stomach and stumbled. Her face turned pale and panic spread quickly. At that moment, many people froze, unsure of what to do. The medical team rushed over, but the situation was serious. The woman was in visible pain, and the unborn baby's life seemed at risk. The air grew tense. People whispered anxiously, and the room seemed to grow quieter as everyone waited for help. Amid the crowd was a young black girl who had been volunteering at the event. She was not part of the wealthy group, but she was there because she believed in helping others. She had studied first aid in school and had volunteered at community centers. When she saw what was happening, she didn't hesitate. She moved closer, her heart beating fast but her mind calm. She knelt beside the billionaire's wife, who was now shaking and struggling to breathe steadily. The girl gently took her hand and spoke softly. "It's going to be okay. I'm here to help you. Try to take slow breaths with me." Her voice was calm and steady, a small but powerful presence in the chaotic room. The billionaire's wife looked at her with wide, scared eyes, and in that moment something shifted. The woman took a shaky breath and tried to follow the girl's guidance. The medical team was impressed. The girl didn't just stand there. She worked with them. She knew how to keep the woman calm, how to check her pulse and breathing until the professionals could take over. She even helped adjust pillows to keep her comfortable and used cool cloths to ease her forehead. The billionaire, standing nearby, watched with a mixture of fear and hope. He had never seen anyone react so quickly and kindly in such a serious moment. His eyes filled with gratitude, even though he didn't yet know the name of the girl who was helping his wife. Minutes felt like hours as the medical team prepared to take the woman to the hospital. The girl stayed by her side, holding her hand, whispering reassuring words. She was the steady anchor in a storm of worry. When the ambulance arrived, the girl helped the medical staff lift the woman carefully onto the stretcher. The billionaire followed closely, never taking his eyes off his wife. Before the doors closed, the woman squeezed the girl's hand weakly and said, "Thank you for being here." The girl smiled gently, feeling tears prick her own eyes. "You're strong," she said. "You'll be okay." The ambulance drove away and the room slowly returned to normal, but everyone present was changed by what they had witnessed. The girl's bravery and kindness had saved the moment. She had stepped up when no one else knew what to do. People began to talk quietly about the unexpected hero. The billionaire sought her out amid the crowd, wanting to thank her properly. But the girl didn't want praise or rewards. She said simply, "I just wanted to help. No one should have to be scared when they need help." That simple statement touched everyone who heard it. The billionaire, a man used to power and money, felt something deeper than gratitude. He saw in this young girl a courage and compassion that money could never buy. Later, as the billionaire sat in the hospital waiting room, his mind replayed the moment over and over. The thought that his wife and unborn child might have been lost weighed heavily on him. He felt tears rise when he thought about how close they came to losing everything. But even more than fear, he felt hope. Hope because of the girl who had saved them, not with fancy tools or money, but with her heart and knowledge. This experience would change the billionaire forever. He realized that real strength was not just about wealth or influence, but about kindness, courage, and being there for others when it mattered most. The plane had finally touched down safely, the tense atmosphere easing as the passengers began to realize the danger had passed. The billionaire's wife, though still weak and pale, was now in the hands of skilled medical professionals waiting on the tarmac. The young black girl who had stepped in during the emergency stood quietly to the side, her heart still racing from the intensity of the situation. The passengers around her were whispering words of thanks and admiration. Some were still in awe of how calmly and bravely she had handled everything. But the girl didn't seek praise. She wasn't interested in being called a hero or having her picture taken. She had simply done what she felt was right, helping a stranger in need when no one else could. As the crowd began to disperse, the billionaire approached her. He was a tall man dressed sharply, with eyes that reflected a deep mix of gratitude and emotion. No one had seen him speak much during the flight, but now his full attention was on the girl who had saved his wife and unborn child. He looked at her with tears welling in his eyes, his voice trembling just a little as he spoke. "Thank you," he said, his words heavy with meaning. "You saved my family. I don't know how to begin to repay you." The girl felt a mixture of surprise and humility. She looked down for a moment, then back up at him. "I just did what anyone should do," she said softly. "No need for thanks." But the billionaire shook his head. "No, it was more than that. You showed courage and kindness when it mattered most. You gave my wife and child a chance to live." For a moment there was silence between them. Then the girl took a breath and made a simple request, one that caught him off guard. "There are many children who don't get the help they need," she said quietly. "I don't want money or gifts. I want to see more children like me get a chance at a better life. Please help them." Her words were sincere and heartfelt. She wasn't asking for riches or fame. She wanted something deeper. Hope and opportunity for children who might otherwise be forgotten. The billionaire's eyes filled with tears, moved by the girl's selflessness. He realized then that this young girl was not only brave but wise beyond her years. Here was someone who had been through hardship herself, and yet she thought of others first. He reached out and took her hand gently. "You have my word," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I will do everything I can to help children in need. Your wish will be my mission." That moment marked the beginning of something bigger than either of them had imagined. The billionaire invited the girl to meet with his family and advisors. Together, they began to explore ways to create lasting change. The girl shared stories from her community, the struggles she had seen, and the dreams she carried for a better future. They talked about schools without enough books, clinics without enough doctors, and children who went to bed hungry every night. The billionaire listened carefully, humbled by what he heard. With the girl's guidance, they started planning projects to improve healthcare and education for children in poor neighborhoods. Scholarships were created, medical camps organized, and community centers built. The billionaire used his resources to make sure these programs reached the children who needed them most. Meanwhile, the girl's life began to change too. She was invited to speak at events, sharing her story of courage and kindness. She became a symbol of hope, showing that even young people from humble backgrounds can make a difference in the world. Despite the attention and new opportunities, she stayed grounded. She remembered where she came from and never forgot the importance of helping others. Her friendship with the billionaire's family grew stronger, based on mutual respect and a shared mission. The billionaire often said that meeting the girl had changed his life. Her simple appeal had opened his eyes to the real needs around him, inspiring him to use his wealth for good. He saw in her the future he wanted to help build, a future where kindness, courage, and hope were available to everyone. Their story spread beyond their town, inspiring many people around the world. It was a reminder that true strength comes not from money or power, but from the heart, and that sometimes the smallest voice can make the biggest impact. Years later, when asked about that day on the plane, the billionaire would still get emotional. He talked about how a young girl's one simple appeal had moved him to tears and set in motion a journey that changed countless lives. And the girl? She continued to work tirelessly, driven by the belief that everyone deserves a chance. Her courage on that flight was just the beginning, a spark that ignited hope for a better tomorrow. When the plane finally landed and the pregnant woman was safe, the billionaire approached the young girl who had saved his wife's life. His eyes were filled with gratitude, but what happened next surprised him deeply. Instead of asking for a reward or fame, the girl looked up at him quietly and made a simple, heartfelt appeal. She said, "I don't want money or gifts. There are many children where I live who don't have enough to eat or a safe place to study. I just want a chance for them to learn and grow so they can have a better life." The billionaire blinked, taken aback by the humility and courage in her words. He had expected a thank you, maybe a request for something personal. But this young girl's concern was not for herself. It was for her whole community. Her appeal was not about what she could get, but about what could be done to help others who were struggling. She went on to explain that in her neighborhood, many children lacked access to basic education, books, and opportunities that others took for granted. Some didn't even have enough food or safe places to play. If they had a little help, she said, they could grow up strong and smart just like anyone else. Her words touched the billionaire deeply. He looked at her and saw not just a brave girl who saved his wife, but a young leader with a vision for change. He realized that true strength didn't come from wealth or power. It came from caring for others and wanting to make a difference. He wiped away a tear and said softly, "You've shown me something very important today. I promise I will do everything I can to help your community." The girl smiled shyly, hopeful but still humble. She didn't expect such a powerful man to listen, much less promise to act. But in that moment, a new connection was formed, not just between two people, but between two worlds that rarely met. Their conversation continued, with the girl sharing stories about her friends and neighbors, the challenges they faced and the dreams they held on to despite the odds. The billionaire listened carefully, moved by her honesty and strength. He asked questions about what kind of support would make the biggest difference. She spoke about schools, libraries, food programs, and safe spaces where children could learn and play without fear. By the time they finished talking, the billionaire had a clear plan forming in his mind. He would use his resources to build those things, the opportunities that the girl so desperately wanted for her community. For the girl, that day marked more than just gratitude for saving a life. It was the beginning of hope, a promise that her small act of courage had sparked a change far bigger than she ever imagined. And for the billionaire, it was a powerful lesson in humility and the true meaning of wealth. He realized that helping others, especially those who rarely had a voice, was the greatest gift of all. As they parted ways, both knew this was not the end of their story, but the start of something meaningful. A journey toward building a better future, inspired by bravery, kindness, and a simple, selfless appeal. After the girl spoke her one simple appeal, the billionaire's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't just the bravery she showed that touched him. It was the way she cared deeply for her community, even while she was being thanked for saving his wife and unborn child. Her words were honest, pure, and powerful. She didn't ask for money or special treatment. Instead, she asked for help to make life better for children and families who didn't have the same chances she did. That moment stayed with him long after the hospital lights dimmed and the crowd had gone. He thought about the girl's home, her neighborhood, and all the people like her who faced struggles every day. He realized how easy it was for people like him to overlook those struggles when life seemed far removed. Moved by her words, the billionaire promised himself he would do something real. Not just a quick donation or a headline-making charity event, but real, lasting change that could improve healthcare, education, and opportunities for the people who needed it most. He began by visiting the girl's community personally, walking the streets, seeing the schools, meeting families, and understanding the challenges firsthand. It was different from hearing about problems in reports or through assistance. Seeing the faces and hearing the stories made it clear how much work needed to be done. The billionaire used his resources and connections to start new programs focused on healthcare, making sure clinics were better equipped and doctors had the support they needed. He invested in schools to improve facilities, provide books, and create safe spaces for children to learn and grow. Scholarships were set up to help bright kids attend college who might never have had the chance. But it wasn't just money. He worked alongside local leaders, listening carefully and respecting their knowledge of the community. Together, they created programs that fit the people's needs, not just what outsiders thought was best. The girl became a key voice in this change. She spoke at events, sharing her story and reminding everyone why these efforts mattered. Her bravery during the emergency was the spark, but her continued dedication fueled the fire for progress. Her family, friends, and neighbors saw a new hope emerging. The community wasn't forgotten anymore. People started believing in a better future, one where their children could have opportunities they never dreamed of. The billionaire and the girl's bond grew stronger with time. What began as a chance encounter in a hospital room turned into a genuine partnership. He admired her courage and wisdom beyond her years. She respected his willingness to listen and take real action. Their story inspired others around the world. It showed that courage and kindness could open doors and bring unlikely people together. It reminded everyone that behind every success there is often someone who stepped up with compassion when it mattered most. For the girl, life changed in many ways. She continued to work hard, but now with the knowledge that she had support and a platform to make a difference. She remained humble, knowing that her real reward was helping others. Years later, the programs they started had grown into thriving centers of hope and opportunity. Children who once struggled now had places to learn, doctors who cared, and families who believed in a brighter tomorrow. The billionaire never forgot that day, nor the girl's simple appeal that touched his heart so deeply. It was a reminder that sometimes the greatest gifts don't come from wealth or power, but from the courage to speak up and the kindness to listen. In the end, their story showed that true change begins when people see each other's humanity, come together and work hand in hand to build a better world, one act of kindness at a time.